To no surprise of most really intelligent combat sports observers, this fight with Jake Paul and Mike Tyson is going to be an exhibition. And let me read to you the new rules for the Tyson versus Paul exhibition match, by the way, courtesy of Boxing TV. So the fighters that are over the age of 36, which obviously only pertains to Mike Tyson, must successfully complete an EEG and EKG to detect any heart or brain problems. Both fighters will wear 16-ounce gloves rather than 10-ounce gloves. The rounds will be scheduled with a duration of 2 minutes rather than a regular 3 minutes. So basically, in the same similar fashion with the Roy Jones fight. And here's the biggest surprise of them all, really to no surprise of anybody with a higher IQ of 100, okay? No official judges will score the fight, therefore no rules, no winner unless there is a knockout. So in other words, they're going to go for the knockout, but officially they can choose to just fight in an exhibition type of matter in the same similar way that Roy Jones did with Mike Tyson. So the question is, when Mike Tyson fought Roy Jones, was that really an exhibition? Well, obviously, the rule sets going into it obviously indicated that. However, did he try to really go for a knockout, or was Mike Tyson really just trying to work on his technical game? And that right there is a question that only Mike Tyson and even Roy Jones himself can answer. Now, in this particular instance, the question is Jake Paul going to go for a knockout rather than, let's say, dance around, as what people would say, right? You want my honest opinion? I think Jake Paul is going to go for a knockout. I think that he is going to do the unthinkable, because many people, including myself, sort of see Jake Paul as somebody that doesn't really care about what anybody thinks, nor does he really care about reprisals or any type of backlash when it comes to negative media attention. So it is no surprise that he is going to try to go for a knockout in this particular fight, and he's going to solidify himself as somebody who has knocked out Mike Tyson, which, by the way, is not really unusual for a lot of the people in the world of professional boxing. For example, do you know the names like Kevin McBride? You have no idea who that is. Why? Because he was the last guy that Mike Tyson got knocked out by. You have no idea who that guy is. Most people don't even know who Lennox Lewis is. And I guarantee you, a lot of people who are going to be watching this fight are just not going to know any of these names, nor will they really understand the implications of what is going on, other than the fact that at one point Mike Tyson was the baddest man in the world, but yet not understanding the full context behind it. In other words, they don't understand that he was on a losing streak at the end of his career. His chin has been gone for a very long, long time, even way before the Roy Jones fight, which again brings into question whether that fight really had any legitimacy in terms of them trying to knock each other out or trying to go for a KO to some degree. Here's something else that I think is really important, worth noting, right? And when it comes to Jake Paul actually trying to go for a knockout in this particular fight. So you guys remember Holyfield. He fought in his last fight, which was also an exhibition, against the former light heavyweight champion of the UFC, none other than Vitor Belfort. And guess what? Vitor Belfort went in there not to dance or to move around or to share this ring with his legend, to exhibit his technical prowess, which, by the way, is the reason why they call it an exhibition, is to do exactly that, to exhibit your technical efficiency, not so much of your knockout power or your killer instinct. Well, guess what? Lo and behold, Vitor went for a knockout, and he laid out Holyfield in front of the world at a Thriller card. And by the way, where Donald Trump was live and present. And not only was Donald Trump live and present, he was also commentating on the fight and felt so sorry for Holyfield as a result of it. So fast forward to 2024. This is the same thing that you're going to see. Jake Paul does not care that Mike Tyson is 58 years old at all. Doesn't care. But maybe he does. And it remains unknown of what he chooses to do in this particular fight. Now, in my opinion, what do I think he's going to do? Two ways that this can go. Obviously, he can take the technical route, dance around with Mike Tyson, give a good account of himself, also put Mike over. And what do I mean by putting him over? It's a pro wrestling term that a lot of pro wrestlers use when, let's say, they want to make their opponent look good. So in other words, a fake fight. This is just really what it is. Now, the other thing that I want to address, and I've addressed this plenty of times before, is that Jake Paul more than likely is going to win this fight if, let's say, if it's a real fight or if there's going to be a knockout involved. Because guess what? Just like what I told you, there's no judges involved. Okay, they have to take an EKG exam. Both fighters have to wear 16-ounce gloves, which is probably going to alleviate a lot of knockout power that Jake Paul has in comparison to, let's say, if he was to wear 10-ounce gloves. And the rounds are going to be 2 minutes, which, quite frankly, for two male boxers, it's just not a lot of time to work, especially when you're trying to go for a knockout. And by the way, in women's boxing, this is also why there's not a lot of knockouts that you see in Clarissa Shields' fights. Simply because a lot of these fights are 2 minutes, and sometimes you need just at least 1 minute and 30 seconds to get cooking in the ring, in the boxing ring. And to get the feel of the distance, to get the feel of the rhythm of the fight, and also to understand your own rhythm while also gathering the data of your opponent. So it takes a little bit more than just, let's say, 2 minutes in order to really get a successful knockout round by round. But this is what we have. So everybody has to really curb their expectations in this particular matter at hand. So again, let me talk about why a lot of people don't believe Jake Paul is going to win this fight and why this is so dangerous for Mike Tyson. Because once again, a lot of people love to live in a world where Mike Tyson is the same Mike Tyson that they know him to be in the highlight reels of his 1980s prime days. That's not the case here. A lot of people also don't like to consider his latter years of his real boxing career within the mid-2000s or even the early 2000s, rather, 2002, 2003, within that era. They don't like to understand that during that time, Mike Tyson was really on a decline and had lost all his motivation and fire to become a fighter and just wanted to go home and rest and retire as he should. Well, lo and behold, here he is. He's in a situation where you can speculate and say that he's looking for money because obviously this is going to be a big cash grab for both men. But the question is, why? Is it because during the 1980s and 90s, Don King had really stiffened Mike Tyson away from a lot of the money that he should have been making? By the way, in the same similar fashion that we have today with the debates of, let's say, fighter pay that is going on in the mixed martial arts world in the UFC. And by the way, I urge you guys to take a look at that video that I had made. Low fighter pay is it's not real, right? So low fighter pay is a lie. I urge you guys to take a look at that video that I had made to give you a full context of what I'm talking about in this particular subject. So yeah, Mike Tyson has been screwed out of his money during his Don King days. So perhaps maybe this is a reason why he's going in and doing these exhibition fights. Now with Holyfield, you got to ask yourself, why is he doing that also? Why did he do that with Vitor Belfort? He went in there with a guy that's an absolute killer. And by the way, for those of you that have been watching mixed martial arts for a long time, you know the reputation that holds Vitor Belfort, which is what? He's a known drug abuser. And obviously during the USADA era, when they came into the UFC and tested everybody, all of a sudden you've seen his physique start inflating, deflating. And all of a sudden, after he got out of the UFC, started taking enhancement drugs again, he started inflating his body, and then you started seeing a change in his physique. And as a result, a change in his performance and just really knock out Holyfield in the fashion that he did. So now you got to think, what is Mike Tyson's motivation to do this? Is it money? Sure. Is it the fact that, yes, it's a great payday? Absolutely. But again, all of this could be just all speculation, right? Because I don't really know, you don't know, but we can only look at some plausibilities and the history of his career to sort of indicate the motivation of why he's doing this. But you also have to take into consideration both of these guys are friends, and perhaps maybe Jake Paul might go in there and disappoint everybody because of the fact that he may not go for a knockout. And this is the other aspect that a lot of people don't really talk about, and that I'm going to talk about right now. The possibility that this fight could be an absolute disappointment. Now, why could this fight be an absolute disappointment? For one, Jake Paul, as I've mentioned in the first 11 minutes of this content, he's friends with Mike Tyson. He was in the undercard of Roy Jones, and he was fighting Nate Robinson. That's the famous knockout that he had made of Nate Robinson and made a meme out of him. So it gave Jake Paul a start, right? After that, it started escalating. Then he started fighting MMA fighters. Then he started fighting MMA fighters with better hands. And the next thing you know, he goes and fights a kid his age, which is Tommy Fury, makes an okay account of himself, but loses by a decision. And then goes back and fights Nate Diaz again. And then after Nate Diaz, obviously he goes in there and fights quote-unquote real boxers, for whatever that means and for whatever that's worth. Real boxers in terms of guys that went through the amateur ranks. And by the way, that last opponent that he had prior to the recent one, August, that guy was a Golden Gloves champion in New York, and Jake Paul knocked him out in the first round. But because of the fact that that guy is not well known, he doesn't have the name and the notoriety that all these other people have, it's not really anything for anybody to praise. But hey, if you understand boxing and you understand how hard it is to even become a Golden Gloves champion, let alone a state champion in whatever amateur sports or combat sports that you do, then you would sort of respect the fact that Jake Paul was able to knock this guy out in the first round. Why is it that we can't give Jake Paul that credit in the same similar fashion that we gave Hamza Shiraz when he was able to knock out Williams in the first round? A very great opponent, a very tested opponent, battle tested at that, and then gets knocked out in the first round by Hamza Shiraz. So everybody gives him praise for that. Why? Because Williams was obviously a much more well-known boxer. Hamza Shiraz was expected to be a top prospect, but we don't give that same type of energy or that same type of love to Jake Paul just simply because he's Jake Paul. And that's the reality of it. But also, a lot of people, because of their hatred for Jake Paul, for whether it's righteous reasons or whether it's just out of jealousy, in all honesty, they're never going to give him the type of credit that he deserves. So this is the reason why he's taken this route. Why would he not take this route when it can give him the most amount of money, give him the most amount of attention, whereas where you're fighting these other guys, they're not giving you that? But here's the thing. I think he knew that that fight that he had in Puerto Rico and in the fight that he had before that with August, which was quote-unquote a real boxer outside of Tommy Fury, he was just looking for a certain level of validation. This right here with Mike Tyson is nothing more than a side project. And for all of you gamers out there, as you know the term, side mission. So that's all that it really is when it comes to this particular topic at hand. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you guys soon, and I will be doing a live for this particular video. You will probably see this video second, and you're probably going to see the live first, but check out both videos and check out all the other videos that I have on the description below and also on the videos and live section. And I will see you guys for the next videos and the next videos and the next videos after that, inshallah. Don't forget to like and subscribe once again, and I will see you guys in the next upcoming content.